Whether you're watching your favorite NBA team at the arena, the bar, or hanging at home, grab an ice-cold Michelob Ultra and enjoy every moment of the NBA season. Stock up today and watch your team drop buckets with a bucket full of ice-cold Ultra. Michelob Ultra. Superior light beer.
Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2026 Anheuser-Busch. Michelob Ultra. Registered light beer. St. Louis, Missouri. Must be 21 plus to order alcohol. Alcohol available only in select markets.
Study
and play
come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get
the best of both worlds.
Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
LinkedIn is great at connecting you with the world's largest professional network. But it can't connect you with motivation on a Monday morning. LinkedIn can help you get insights from your professional community. But it can't give you any insight into why Dave's still talking on mute. And while it can't stop your boss from bringing tuna for lunch, LinkedIn can help bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com to learn more.
It's the URC Grand Final. It's Ireland versus South Africa. It's Leinster versus the Bulls. It's David versus Jean. It's Cork Park versus Loftus Versfeld. Let's get stuck in. Welcome to the special podcast. We've done it once before, and it was my favorite podcast done here on the Global Gainlines. It's the crossover pod between Interpro and Bit of an Animal. It's a bit of an Interpro show. We've got David and John with us this evening. No young Adam. Unfortunately, Adam was also supposed to be on the pod as a neutral and or Leinster hater, but unfortunately he got kidnapped by some Merseyside street gang. So good luck to you, Adam. David, first time we've really interacted with you on the pod. Tell our viewers about yourself.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Yeah, I'm 10 years now supporting Leinster. Came to rugby a little bit late. Didn't start watching until my 20s, but kind of made up for lost time with a lot of enthusiasm. So yeah, no, I've just been bet into it ever since. Known Caelan now since he was disgustingly young, as he still is, and that's how I got into the global gainline thing. So yeah, been going well now with the Interpro show. One whole season under our belt of somehow managing to do it every week, which has been pretty good. And yeah, really looking forward to covering this final now.
Yeah. Jean, before we get to the team sheets, vibes, what are you feeling going into this fourth final in 5 years, up against the same opponent, repeat of last season?
Different. I'm gonna say it feels different.
David, what are the vibes for you? Last year it was pretty weird. Were you celebrating big when they won? Because the Leinster players having lost in the semi-final of the Champions Cup to Northampton of all teams. Once they won the URC 4 weeks later, they didn't seem that stoked about it. They seem happy, but like I think the Stormers, Glasgow, Munster celebrated a little more than Leinster did last season.
Yeah, no, it's an unfortunate kind of side effect. Like Leinster are a European club, like that's definitely how we identify. And you know, we had a pretty good run there from our first through to our fourth win in that competition, and I think it's been pretty unapologetically from both management down to the players that the European Cup and that fifth star is really what we get out of bed for. So yeah, it's always a bit of a come down to go back to the URC from that. Personally, I was over the moon because like I think we take it for granted that from going from the Pro 14, which is a competition that we had a reasonable amount of dominance in. We didn't win the URC for 4 seasons. Didn't even get to the final. So it's definitely not something I took for granted. While it was a bit of a step down and it's a bit frustrating to not be able to sell out a stadium for a final, it was pretty nice to be able to lift silverware again and not just have it be the Irish Shield. So no, it was a good day. This year, bit different again. The European loss this year was pretty gutting. The manner of it was not fun. But I think the vibes around this game are kind of there's a little bit of that, but there's a little bit of we're losing a real talisman of a player in James Lowe. So I think there's a lot of people who are showing up just to give that man support. And if we can send him on away with another medal, that'd be fantastic. But much like Jean, it feels different this year. Last year was a really strong Leinster performance and a disappointing performance from a Bulls team who are much better than what they were on that day. I don't think it's going to be like that this year. There's a couple of frailties in that Leinster team, and I think last week or 2 weeks ago showed that there's no lead that'll make you safe from that Bulls squad. So I'm anticipating a much closer game this time around.
David, will you be in attendance on Saturday?
I will indeed, yeah. Wouldn't miss it. Stadium's just down about a 20-minute walk from my house, so yeah, 100%. Can't wait.
Are
It's a
you
cold stadium,
comfortable?
but it'll be
Uh,
nice.
yeah, you said on the URC Rewind that, in his humble opinion, uh, um, Cork. Well, he was talking about the Aviva though. So to be fair, he said it was the coldest stadium in the URC. Um, David, are you comfortable sharing with the viewers and the listeners how much you paid for your tickets?
My tickets were €35 each.
Oh,
So not
okay.
too bad. Yeah, no, I got reasonable seats. They have opened up something like their premium tier has gone a bit mad, but even in the last few days, the URC put up posts, so they've opened part of the upper deck. Like it is an 82,000 seat stadium. I think we'd be doing well if we get 45 in there. They've opened part of the upper deck, and they're selling those tickets for 25. There's a large standing section in Croke Park called the Hill 16. Those are going for 20, but seats just down the bottom. As long as you don't want to sit on halfway, you can get them for a not insignificant price if or not unreasonable price if you want to. But yeah, no, we did all right. I was gonna blow it out, but I was like, I spent a lot of money following this team this year, so I think just having a view of the pitch will be enough.
Just for the South Africans watching this, £35 is enough to have a massive braai and get wasted.
Yeah.
For us. For us. We here in the southern tip of Africa. Just send us £35 and we'll get wasted on your behalf.
Unfortunately, I don't know if anyone's if you lads have visited Dublin lately, but with the price of beer around here, that maybe get you 2 points. Yeah, no, it's I think I'll have to start going out in South Africa.
So
£35,
last
yeah.
season, they got in the same stadium, they got 46,123 people approximately. That's the official line anyway. David, do you think it's gonna be slightly more than that, slightly less?
I think the last number I saw was we were just edging in the last week, edging up near 30,000. Like I said, they put on a few extra ticks this week, and with the team sheets out and maybe the push around low, I'd say if we get to that number, we'll be doing pretty well. Which look, it's always unfortunate that it's such a massive stadium that looks like not a lot of people. In the Aviva, even that would look like a packed house, but unfortunately, it's an 82,000 seat stadium, and that is hard to sell, and particularly in June in Ireland. So, but I think if we get close to that, we'd be doing all right.
Yeah, weirdly, you can't play at the Aviva because of a Metallica concert. I am not. I
Yeah.
know a few Metallica songs, but I'm not a huge Metallica person. I think I'm a bit too young for that. I'm more of a Rage Against the Machine person, but even that's more my older cousins and stuff like that. So, and then
Right.
there's also the aspect of the RGS of, I think if Leinster played most of their games there, much smaller stadium, better atmosphere, easier to fill, and then just played a handful of games at the Aviva, it would feel more, special to then play there. Jean, you want to elaborate a little on how it feels different? The new coach, similar team, but you do have Andre Pollard.
Yeah, I think some of the things that feel different this year as opposed to last year. Um, Last year the Bulls had the back line didn't play a role. This year they do play a role. Last year the defense defense didn't have a single binding principle. Like there was no binding principle to the defense. The defense was just go out, hit hard, see if you can get a turnover. There obviously is not the rumors of a locker room revolt or anything like that. We've got a coach who has and I only actually found this out recently. I was watching a certain podcast who I will not mention, and they spoke to a very good South African psychologist, and he actually worked with Johan Ackerman at the Lions. And once I heard that, so many little things about Ackerman clicked into place, about how he approaches the team, the way he speaks about belief, unity, the importance of family, the importance of recognizing the individual, recognizing what went right, even if everything else went wrong, the process of building of systems and things like that. Like, so much made sense. And I think that's one of the biggest things that feels different this year is the fact that our coach is not a divisive figure. Our coach is seen as a figurehead. Our coach is seen as a person who has control of the team, gives direction to the team, and more specifically, gets the team to believe. He's not letting the team believe in his plan, and I think that's very important to distinguish here. When you look at the way Rassie does things with the Springboks, it's about getting the players to buy into Rassie's plan. For Ackerman, it's saying, especially this season, the vibe has been, let's just execute very basic things extremely well and have one or two key things that we're the best at, that nobody can beat us at. And he's gotten the team to believe in that and the team to believe in themselves, because this is an excellent team, but their mentality was broken last year. This year, after that Glasgow game, I mean, I was screaming my lungs out to say, listen, you guys aren't defending out wide. The catch-up defender is slow. You can't have Leroux as catch-up defender. Carl Steyn's ripping us to stretch. And then just coming back second half saying, okay, Glasgow's not going to score again, and we're going to eat up the difference. Just doing that was massive, and that doesn't come from nowhere. So I think that belief is the difference, because even when we lost to Glasgow at Loftus, it felt like the team was hollow. When we went to Leinster last year, yeah, sure, we got into a final again, but there wasn't that feeling of there's a spine, there's guts here, there's spirit. This year, especially since we went on tour and we won that game against Pau in the Champions Cup, and then starting to win in the URC and building momentum, since that has happened, there's been this feeling of this team has got some sort of guts and they've got some spine in them. And that's the key difference for me is not that there's big names like Handré Pollard or Willie Leroux or Kanan Moody or Kurtley Orense, Wilco Lowe. There's plenty of big names in the team, but there's bigger belief. These guys believe in something. And that to me is the clear difference between last year and this year.
If your business runs on 5 different apps, 12 browser tabs, and one spreadsheet that everyone's afraid to touch, it's probably time for Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that connects every part of your business into one powerful, easy-to-use platform. So instead of wasting time switching between disconnected systems, your entire business works together in real time. Your team moves faster, your data stays accurate, and you can actually focus on growing your business. Let one unified system run your entire business. From the first opportunity to the final payment, everything works together in one place. Whether you're a small business or managing a large operation, Odoo gives you one flexible platform built to grow with you. Learn more at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
It's very interesting. Also, Erge Snyman not available, unfortunately injured, but he seems to be doing the rounds in the media. I was on the morning Irish show. It's nice to see Erge Snyman. We haven't seen him on a screen in a while. I don't follow him on socials per se, but yeah, last time I saw him actually play, he had a shaved head and a beard, but he's got the mohawk back, David, and yeah, he looks far more what we expect Erge Snyman to look like. It's obviously sad not to see him in the team because he played for Bulls as well for a long part of his tenure. And then he also had a short stint at Munster, but we don't talk about that, David, do we? So yeah, thoughts on your team, David?
Yeah, like it's a stronger team as we really could have fielded. I think we're, with the exception of maybe one position, we can't have too many complaints. Obviously, to have Snyman in there would be great, but I think as long as Joe McCarthy and James Ryan are fit, I have heard from someone who's apparently spying on training camps that Joe McCarthy sat out training yesterday. So it's still to be confirmed if he is actually 100% fit to start the game. Obviously, he'd be a big loss. But Dermot Mangan, even on the bench, one of the younger Leinster lads, but he finished the season really well. Has shown a lot of kind of punch. So I think he'll be a worthy replacement off the bench. The only position we really have of kind of significant concern would be that number one spot. Jerry Kerr has had a hell of a season. To come from playing in the AIL, an amateur player last year, to getting I think it's 15 or 16 caps for Leinster this season, and now to move on to a 2-year contract with Connacht next year. It's great for him, but he is going up against a really serious Bulls front row, not to mention the replacements on the bench. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage the balance between Kerr and Usnov there. Obviously, it's a really odd situation to have, be 4 players deep in your depth in one position. But other than that, I don't think we can have too many complaints. Basically every other player in that team is an international. The only one who isn't an Ireland international is an All Black. So I think we're probably in as good a position as we could hope to be. I think there'll be a lot of eyes on Sam Prendergast. Unfortunately, there always is, but it's such a fluid position for Leinster at the moment. I think there's a lot of people who would have liked to see Kieran Frawley maybe involved, even on the bench. But we've gone for Sam, we've gone for Harry. We've shown a willingness to swap one for the other pretty quickly if things go sideways. So I think, especially considering it's Handré Pollard they're squaring up against on the other side, that'll be the one to watch. And then, I said it before, but I think we're going to get a really big game out of James Lowe. He's a really big player. He loves contact. The Bulls love contact. And, his last game for Leinster, I think he's going to want to make a mark. So I think there's enough there for the Bulls to get at, but there's enough there for Leinster fans to be reasonably pleased that we've got a pretty good shot at this as well.
The one sort of talking point is that Kieran Frawley is not on the bench, and he did play well on the bench in the final, in the Champions Cup final. He's leaving for Connacht as well. Seems you guys are losing quite a few people to Connacht, and
Yeah.
Leo Cullen did sort of allude to that annoyingly in the interview the other day, basically saying that you guys are getting stripped of players here and there. Are you okay with the whole burn on the bench instead of Frawley?
Um, no, I think if it was me, I'd honestly, I'd probably actually have Harry Burns starting and I have Kieran Frawley on the bench. Sam Prendergast has played reasonably well of late, but there's some serious holes in his game that would cause concern. I suppose the thing with Frawley is that he actually hasn't, as good as he played in the final. He actually hasn't played that much of 10 this season at all because he just hasn't been picked there. So I think there was actually a reasonably strong argument that it wouldn't have been a bad idea to have him in the team that's at a 12. Jamie Osborne had a slight dip in form, and I think we've started earlier in the season. We had Harry Byrne and Frawley pair quite well. I think both of the lads, Sam and Harry, are excellent, but they benefit from having an extra proper playmaker on the pitch. Jamie Osborne can pass, but he's not that. So I would have liked to see Frawley involved. I suppose even the fact that I can't 100% say if I want him at 10 or 12 is kind of the Frawley curse in that he's really good in a lot of positions, but he's never 100% nailed down one. So I think it'll be interesting to see now if he goes to Connacht. They've been pretty clear that they want him as 10. So to see how he goes if he gets a proper string of games there. But no, I think I'm not 100% sure where I'd want him, but I would probably be a bit happier if Kieran Frawley was on this team because he's a good player. Like he's a good impact player and he's so versatile. You could really have players go down in three different positions and bring him on and he would have an impact. So but look, I think Leo Cullen has made a decision that he's leaving next season, and that's that. It's really hard to parse sometimes the selection decisions around Kieran Frawley because sometimes they just don't seem to make a massive amount of sense. But I think it'll be a test now for Sam because he's gone through a lot with both Ireland and Leinster selection, and being picked again at 10 in the final is a big call. But so I think he'll have something to prove. But I think if things go sideways, I would expect to see Harbourne pretty fast because we have shown a willingness to do that if push comes to shove. So yeah, would like to see him in. It's kind of sad he doesn't get to finish his Leinster career on the pitch, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, in fairness to Sam Pendergrass, his defense still has a lot to develop, but his passing in terms of attacking have been really nice these last few games. Um, Last thing for you, David, what's the fitness of Dan Sheehan, considering he was out the team for the last two games? What injury was he out with as well?
I don't 100% know what the injury itself was, but I don't know. It's a hard one to balance when you're like he's not fit enough to start, but he's fit enough on the bench. I would be of the opinion if he's not fit enough to start, he shouldn't be playing. I think it's far too important a position to take a risk like that. Like if something happens to Ron Gallagher and then you have to bring on a fella who's not 100% fit, I think that's a massive risk. So I have to just assume that he is fit. But yeah, there's just been niggly injuries around him, and it'll be touch and go. He was listed as further assessed, so they rarely go into like specific details with exactly what it was. But I think the fact that he's on the bench has to mean that they've deemed him fit. I'd say the only reason they're not starting him is because Ronan Keller is genuinely pretty close to being his equal. He's been excellent, and his darts have been maybe a little bit more accurate than Sheehan's in the last few games. But yeah, it'll be one where he, he'll probably come on around 55, 60 minutes. But I have to just hope that the only reason he's in the squad is because he's fit. If there's a dip in try or if there's a dip in the captain's run, that they'll hook him because I think that it's too much of a risk to put yourself in a position, particularly against a team like the Bulls, where scrummaging could be a real factor, to have your hooker in any doubt really, particularly with the lads you've got coming off the bench as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Leinster going with a 5-3 split on the bench, Bulls with a 6-2 split on the bench. Before we move on to Jean and the Bulls, it's interesting. Shout out to the URC for this awesome graphic. It's almost MMA, like UFC, like. Although I didn't know Josh van der Vliet couldn't grow a beard. I feel sorry for him. Jean, um, 6-2 on the bench. Yes, they put Nizamkar at 23 to throw people off, but he is a loose forward. Can't really at this stage of his career mix it up in the back line. But yeah, solid team. If I'm not mistaken, the exact same team that played in the semi-final, or am I mistaken?
No, you are 100% correct. Ackerman obviously feeling that, the team is settled. I'm not inclined to disagree with that feeling. He's been largely consistent in his selections, managing players well. I don't think that any particular player has, seen more or less minutes than anyone else in the squad. And I think maybe that's part of where this resurgence is coming from is just the willingness from Ackerman to say, listen, we've got a first string and we've got a second string, and this is our first 23 and this is our second 23, and we'll rotate guys in and out, but just so everyone knows, this is the top guys, this is the second, this is the third. It's not necessarily that the guy behind Ruan or Kia is better or worse, but experience does come into it. It's been a quest to save the season, and I would applaud the Bulls for doing at the very least that. But I think the consistency in selection, especially coming in, looking at that semi-final, even going back, let's take the game against Munster, right? You could feel the team is settled. There's a sense of calm. They knew what they were going up against. They knew what they needed to do. Billy LaRue showed up like it was the 2019 Rugby World Cup final. And then you go to that Glasgow game, and there's this immense pressure on them. Halftime, everything feels lost. It's hanging by a thread. We've got 3 points on. Glasgow seem to have it in the bag. They're thinking about the final. And the team's just calm and collected and settled. They know what's coming off the bench. They know what they need to do. They know how they need to adjust. So I think that consistency and selection really bears through at this point in this season. It might not be the right move going forward, but for this season, I think it was the right thing. Just getting everyone's in tune and the harmony is settled. I actually had a thought earlier today, and you guys were speaking about Leinster's injuries. This 2-week break, I feel like it benefited Leinster physically, but I actually feel it did a mental favor to the Bulls because it allowed them enough time to mentally get over the fact that they won that semi-final, despite having no reason to have won it. And they sort of clawed a victory from the jaws of defeat. And now the fact that it was 2 weeks has allowed them to mentally rest, reset, and now go and say, right, we actually can win this thing. Let's get ourselves up for this fight. Let's get ourselves ready for this. So while Leinster benefited physically, as David was saying, or rather getting the excuses aligned for Saturday morning, with guys having niggles and things like that, they managed to recover physically. I think for the Bulls, much like we saw with the Springboks in 2023, we beat France by 1 point, and that next week you've got this emotional hangover of having done that. But that 2-week gap just allows you to get over that. That second week, you sort of like, yes, we can. It's not a miracle. We got it done. We got over the line. Now let's push it. Let's show that we deserve it. But yeah, I'm happy with the selection. I'm hoping some of the guys off the bench show a bit more impact. One guy I'm extremely happy for, and I will never not be happy for this guy, is Jandre Rudolph. He never comes off the bench and does not make an impact. Between him and Cameron Hanekom, I feel like the number 8 jersey is settled for the Bulls for quite a long time. They are similar yet different in what they pose. In the front three, we know what we have. We've got good scrummages, good ball carriers. In terms of what we have at 9 with Ambrose Papier, it's going to be very interesting to see the clash of styles between Ambrose Papier and Jameson Gibson-Park. I think JGP is excellent at managing the Irish team and just keeping them on the front foot. Whereas Ambrose Papier is a bit more, I want to say, he looks for guidance, but he's also more of a running threat himself. At 10, you've got quite a contrast there, I want to say. You've got the physically astute Pollard, who's not scared to run himself, not scared to take risks, not scared to put it on the line. Going up against Prendergast, who is probably an exceptional attacking 10, but offers much less of a physical threat, much less of a defensive stop. So yeah, there's a lot of good matchups here with each team having its own unique balances in terms of attack, defense, physicality. I mean, the Leinster pack is nothing to be shy about. You've got Kelleher and Sheehan as hookers. You've got Tyg Furlong making an appearance. You've got Caelan Doris, one of the best fetchers in the game. So the Bulls' ruck security will really be under pressure. Yeah, I'm happy with selection, but I do agree with David. This is going to be an immense match, and I think the physicality is going to be off the charts. I do think, though, that 6-2 is the right call for the Bulls. The style of game they play is very physical, very forward based, very attritional. So in order to keep up with the guys like Doris and Van der Fleer and those guys in minute 65, 70, you need some subs coming off the bench. And I'm happy with the guys we've selected. Like I said, the consistency I feel was the right choice for this season.
About millennial pause. I was muted there for a moment. A word about Jean-André Rudolph. Toiled somewhat in obscurity for the Cheetahs. When he signed for the Bulls, there was chatter that he'd just be sort of another sort of depth player, but he proved people wrong. He made this position, impact position on the bench his own. I mean, he had a pretty good Currie Cup last season with the Cheetahs. Or was it the Bulls? I forget the last season, but we're about to go into the next Currie Cup season. We spoke about James Lowe, this being his last game for Leinster, departing to take up a contract in Japan. And the two players on the Bulls starting 15 who are doing the same. Um, Jean, your thoughts on Kurtley Arendse and Rwando Kia in their tenure at the Bulls now that they're saying their goodbyes?
Yeah, I'm really hoping. I mean, it's tough. In sport, you want everyone to get their flowers. And look, James Lowe has been Ireland's cheat code for a long time. You can't have a physical 11 who's fast and can kick off the left boot, getting you 50-22s every other day. It's sorry, guys, you have to pick and choose. You can't just get your ice cream buttered on all sides, or your guineas creamy every day. It just doesn't work like that. But James Lowe's been a fantastic player. Ruan Norkia for us, since he stepped up in 2022, he was there during 2023, 2024, 2025. He's been a line-out specialist. And I think in the absence of Loet de Jager and some of our more settled or experienced locks actually brought a lot of consistency to both the Bulls and the Springboks line-outs. That said, he'll be missed in the Bulls setup. We've got some other locks, but as an experienced line-out operator, I think he will be missed. He's also a sense of calm. That Bulls pack, I think it's like a pack of hyenas. So having someone with a sense of calm, and a sense of purpose and a sense of drive, to get them behind you is a good thing. Kurtley Arendse has, it's Kurtley Arendse. He's just been fantastic for us. Excellent under the high ball. And that's something we actually saw come back to this Bulls team under Johan Ackerman is Kurtley Arendse doing this sort of the same role we see him do at the Springboks, which is, that kick chase pressure, not just competing for the ball, but if he knows he's not going to make the kick, just waiting for the guy to catch it and then making that instant tackle, man-on-ball tackle that puts the guys under pressure. So I think they'll be sorely missed, but we've got a lot of talent waiting in the wings. Cheswell Jooste is an exciting talent. I think it'll allow guys like Kobus Visa to maybe step up and some of our other recruits. There is also a sense of age with the squad. These guys have been now in this for 3 or 4 seasons, so guys can't hang around forever. And I think there's a lot of criticism from a lot of corners, be it from South Africa or Ireland or just the rugby community in general towards the Japanese League One. I think that criticism might be misplaced because there's not a lot of access to watch that league. It might not be as physical, but it's a different kind of tactical. And we've seen in the past that a lot of Springbok players, a lot of All Black players go there and they don't lose a step. They gain some nuance, if anything, to their game. So yeah, I'll miss them at the Bulls, but I do understand, the allure of playing in Japan, playing fewer games, getting your body some rest maybe before you decide to come back on a sunset tour or doing your final years in SA. I do understand that, and I don't beget anyone that. Um, so yeah, to James Lowe, Ruan Norkia, Kurtley Arendse, all the best in Sushi Land. Hopefully we do see you guys come round again. I think Ireland will sorely miss James Lowe, not for lack of talent, just for that unique skill set he brings. And he's the sort of player that you hate him because you wish you had him. I've often watched Ireland play, and I'm like, man, if we had an 11 with a boot like that, I am sure that kick tennis with the Springboks would be a death sentence, because you just keep him in the back next to your fullback, and between James Lowe and Damian Willemse, the Springboks would kick anyone to death. So yeah, I think he'll be missed just for that unique skill set he brings.
Yeah, the Japanese league is interesting because players used to regress about a decade ago when they went there. That was your Indian summer. But of late, with the physical toll one goes through playing URC Champions Cup and Test rugby, that's um, there's almost a feeling from the Springboks staff of like we do want some of our key players to move on to the Japanese league at some stage, to gain certain experience and technical ability, but also to save them to a degree physically. That having been said, Mari Libok has been sort of kept back from the Barbarians game, which we did preview yesterday on Bit of an Animal. Um, but the Springbok team saying he's played more than enough in Japan, and he's in. Effectively, they're not saying he's overplayed. They're just saying, look, he's in form. We basically use the Barbarians game to play people into form. So why risk money, Lubok? I will say James Lowe, despite his advanced age at the stage of his life, having watched him at the Super Rugby level and All Black selectors saying he's good, but he's just not fast enough for our team. Obviously, New Zealand go through wings quite at a rapid pace. He is still very much somebody who, and we saw this in the semi-final, makes a lot of meters post contact. So that's still a skill he has, and we'll see if that bears through on Friday night. Um, David, before we move on to our surprise second segment, we're gonna have to ask you to give a prediction. Leinster by how much?
I think I'll stick with my prediction from last night's show. I think it's going to be Leinster by 8. It's going to be a tight game. I'm going to have another series of small heart attacks in the second half, but I think we should have just enough to edge it.
John, it's certainly not going to be Leinster winning by 25 points like last season. Your prediction on the game?
I reckon Bulls by 5.
Nice. Right.
Andre
I like.
Pollard will equalize with a penalty, and will get a turnover penalty, go to the corner, because they won't allow him to kick for penalty too much based on last week. And then we'll maul it over. He'll miss the kick. Time will be up.
Excellent.
And if that comes
Nostradamus.
true, if that comes true, please tune in Saturday. I'm going to be eating my shoe.
Gonna, or you're gonna be doing a shoey, drinking an alcoholic beverage out of a shoe. Very shout out to Tai Tuivasa and the all those guys there getting paid peanuts to beat each other up at the UFC. Just to make Dana White rich, guys, we've got a special segment. This is the Global Gainlines YouTube channel, but there is no Super Rugby podcasts on the Global Gainlines as of yet. They are working on it, I'm told, for quite some time. So we're going to do a nice neutral assessment of the Super Rugby final. It's Hurricanes versus Chiefs. David, you're an Irish person, so and you guys are quite fond of recruiting New Zealand players into your fold. Shout out to Jansen from Connor. How do you think this is going to pan out down in the land of the long white cloud?
Oh, I'm really excited for this one. I'm unfortunately, I don't know if people remember, but back in the bad times, Super Rugby Aotearoa was the first to come back. So I have since then been a Blues fan, which is just a lot of fun if you like losing just before the end of the season. And it wasn't any different this season. That Hurricanes team put a serious beating on them in the semi-final. It's great to see a Super Rugby final that doesn't involve the Crusaders. Anytime that happens, it's always a nice change of pace. There were pretty big margins in those two semi-finals. It wasn't really close in either one. So these two teams, it'll be serious to see them go up against each other. If I had to back one of them, I suppose our old mate Geordie. Hopefully he goes well, co-captaining the Hurricanes there. But yeah, this should be a class game to watch, and I think as we were saying off air, like it'll be real interesting to see how some of those New Zealand lads are going before the start of the international season, because it was a strong finish for these teams coming out of that Super Rugby competition. It's always a wonder with the lack of the South African teams how much it still prepares them for Test rugby, but they're playing really nice right now. If they keep playing like that, it's going to be a great final, and yeah, it'll be really interesting to see who comes out on top and what that might say for how the Nations Championship will go.
It's weird because New Zealand's choice to not pick anybody who doesn't play in Super Rugby has its pros and cons. But if you look across this, firstly, we're looking at the Hurricanes team. Um, God damn, this is a solid team. Peter Lakai, Killer Cam Roigard, Ruben Love, Geordie Barrett of Leinster fame. Tyrell Lomax is on the bench. Veteran
Yeah.
Brad Shields came back. I think he got picked by England once, I guess. On the Chiefs side, such quality. Vice captain, Jacobson's there. Who's starting at 9? Uh,
Oh,
Ratimer.
Ratama, yeah,
Yeah,
Curtis
yeah.
Ratama, excellent
Smiling
players.
assassin, Damien McKenzie,
Yeah.
rumored to be stopping off at Leinster at some point in his career. You heard it first. Um,
Yeah, I think we
um,
we got very excited at that prospect, but I won't hold my breath.
if it's not next season, David, it's probably the season afterwards. At least that's what the inside info is telling me. Um, Jean, I barely literally I haven't watched a minute of live Super Rugby since we departed Super Rugby. One, because like we're not involved, and two, because as our colleague Police Commissioner Ben says, I suffer from the condition of having a life, so I can't watch that much rugby. I also watch club football, and myself and Kalon, shout out Kalon, both have the displeasure of supporting False Hope FC, Manchester United. But John, we do have Duplessis Karifi as vice captain of the Hurricanes. His dad named him after a famous South African player. Your thoughts on this final in Super Rugby?
Honest disclaimer, this is based off nothing but vibes and whatever clips I've managed to find on Rugby Union Reddit. I do feel that if the Hurricanes don't win, it'll be majestic justice for Cam Roigard pulling off what can only be described as a FIFA level dive in the semi-final. And that he should repent to his teammates and to the rugby gods. That said, I do echo David's sentiments. Nice to see the Crusaders sitting a final out. How gracious of them to finally allow someone else to lift the cup. It's been very monotonous, and I think you spoke about it earlier with the South African teams no longer playing. It's very difficult for us to gauge, where does Super Rugby leave the Australian and the New Zealand players in terms of preparation for test season. I think under Dave Rennie, it might be different than it had been over the past couple of seasons. Dave Rennie strikes me as a coach who is in a way very similar to Rassie in that he looks at what is your off the ball work rate, how do you apply your skills? Do you look at where you can serve the team, or, are you sort of like, I have my role, I do my job, and if it's not my job, I don't do it. So it's going to be very interesting because I think for most part of Super Rugby, a lot of guys for a lot of New Zealand players, it would have made sense to say, listen, we've got a new coach coming in, we've got new assistant coaches. Now's the time to put your hand up. There's no established order right now for New Zealand. I do also think that having Damian McKenzie at 10 is a bit of a advantage to the Chiefs. He's a Maverick Finn Russell-esque type player who looks to attack what's in front of him. Barrett strikes me more as a run it by the system, play the game plan type player. So then again, Barrett manages to kick over the post. Damian McKenzie only does it to spite the Springboks. So yeah, I don't know. I do agree that it should be a good final, and for fans of running attacking rugby, this should be excellent. But yeah, I think the Chiefs have something in them. Well, at least I hope they do. And I'm probably picking the Chiefs just to disagree with David on one more point. So if there's any love, it gets completely lost between us. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I think if you look at this as a snapshot of New Zealand rugby at present, looking at this and then perhaps looking at the New Zealand squad that will be announced probably within 5 or 6 days after this, you'll be able to see what Dave Rennie rates highly, what he's looking for in players. So even if this match, is not as exciting or as important to us, I think for New Zealand rugby, it becomes very important to say, okay, it gives us a glimpse into what is our coach looking at, where's his mind, what's he focusing on.
You have one new message. Translating. Disney and Pixar's Hoppers is now available on Disney+.
You could say that again.
Critics are calling it Pixar's funniest movie ever and a wildly entertaining ride. Blizzard Potato. It's certified fresh and verified hot.
Now we party.
This is incredible!
Wow, I am clearing the rest of the day.
Disney and Pixar's Hoppers, now available on Disney+. Rated PG.
I forgot to ask our colleague, Themikosi, from Bit of an Animal, because he follows Super Rugby quite closely, even though he's a Lions supporter, a Golden Lion supporter from Joburg. But he was still watching Super Rugby very attentively, and he was also earmarked to be on the Global Gainline's Super Rugby podcast, and might well still be when it gets off the ground. So I don't know if, besides the Lions, which team within Super Rugby he was backing while watching it, or he was entirely neutral. I don't know if he's a Waikato Chiefs fan, but we do know he's a Kaiser Chiefs fan. So on that note, though, guys, there's a football World Cup. Yes, we call it football, not soccer. Going on. David, you guys, through a weird circumstance, tried to qualify for the football World Cup twice. But mostly through colonialism and England people being dicks, but we also have experience with that. That's why I like the URC, because there's such a even though there's a rivalry between Ireland and South Africa, there's a great kinship as well. Although we do also have our bad characters. You guys, Conor McGregor and us, Dricus du Plessis. On that note, Bafana Bafana lost their first game to Mexico, but then just earlier today they actually drew a game that they were set to lose. David, have you been keeping an eye on this football cup in any capacity?
Oh, only very, very loosely. I work alongside two guys. One of them's from Spain, one's from Brazil, and they've been keeping me fairly well apprised of how their teams are doing anyway. And then from an Irish point of view, I think we're just kind of sickened every time we watch a game that Czechia are in, just because we're like, or Czechia are in, because we're like, that should be us. But yeah, and then we have the one bit of representation. We have a guy, Pico, he plays for Capo Verde. He's an Irish lad. He's from Dublin. His dad's from Cape Verde. So, and they had a great game there against Spain, holding them to a draw, which I don't think anyone saw coming. So, yeah, a little bit here. It's a bit disconcerting. The two lads who host the Interpro show with me, I don't think Adam had been born the last time Ireland were in a World Cup. So we're unfortunately well used to missing out at this stage. But sure, look, it is what it is.
Yeah, you can't dominate every sport. Jean, you're famously very, very much into football. Wait, I'm told that's a lie.
I am very famously into football in the same way that our government is into service delivery. So yeah, look, I've been keeping an eye on it, and I will say this: I have at some point in my life sat down and watched UEFA and whatever the English league is, and I've tried to wrap my head around how football works, not the rules, how it works. I can't. It to me it appears to just be passing the ball around and then something opens up and you do a cross kick and another guy puts his foot in the way, and if he does it at the right angle, there's a goal. That being said, I'm happy that we drew today despite getting another card. I do feel like at some point Bakkies Botha was involved with Bafana's training. I don't know if he gave them a speech about mentality or something, but I do feel like he at least drove past the training camp and the vibe was absorbed, because it's like, if we can't win, everyone will lose. That I feel like that's Bafana's mentality, is like, we'll hurt you. We'll hurt you. But yeah, look, I'm happy for the guys, and I think that um at some point as South Africans we have to realize that there's other sports in this country that deserve equal praise and equal opportunity. I mean, we're very quick to jump on the Springbok women or the Proteas women or the Proteas, and we fall by the wayside when it comes to soccer as a nation or as a national sport. And I do think that those guys need recognition and support. It's a much bigger game than rugby or cricket, which are very limited, very speciality type games, if you want to call it that. Um, I know Ireland has beaten us in both cricket and rugby, both as men and women, and I'm uncomfortable with that fact. I don't like that fact. Um, but it's I do think we need to open our minds to the possibility that maybe supporting Bafana wholeheartedly will lead to success, and not just using them for meme value.
Yeah. As someone who follows club football very, very closely, as best I can, I've lost touch somewhat with national team football, but I do still understand the structures that are in place within the South African system. Because I mean, there's like key things like the fact that the Premier Soccer League, the major league in South Africa, was on free to air TV a few years ago, and then it went behind a paywall. And for many of us, we then lost touch with it through that instance, and only later being able to access it again. And then the Premier Soccer League doesn't look great on television, but I will say on the moments that I have had the opportunity to watch the game live, it's very high level football and an enjoyable atmosphere with people at Athlone Stadium, or I've watched I watched even the football game at Newland Stadium. It was like Kaizer Chiefs versus Ajax Cape Town at the time, and the people around you, it's a very diverse crowd, and it's like the tickets are cheap as well. I mean, back then it was like $20 and I could buy it at the stadium as well. I didn't have a ticket going in. I just walked to, there was like a ticket office and I could just buy it. So that was cool. So yeah, on that note, I'm glad John also mentioned the government, because there are many similarities between Ireland and South Africa, and there's many differences. But one thing they do have over us is that I would trade a World Cup for Kathleen Colony to be my head of state. Anyway.
Well, I'll say this as a scathing indictment of my love of rugby. I've attended more international football matches than I've attended test rugby matches, which is shocking now that I think about it. But I will also add this caveat. I was 18. It was the 2010 FIFA World Cup in South Africa, and the tickets were probably what amounts to pocket change for David. So being of legal age and having some form of money allowed me to attend 2 international matches, Australia versus Slovenia, and another one. And I have actually attended a PSL final in Nelspruit as well. My friend's dad worked for Nedbank, and they sponsored it at the time. And he had like a bunch of tickets, and he told us, "Get out of my house, I want to watch rugby." So we went there for, I think, a half of soccer, and then pulled the parachute. So I really need to watch more test matches. That's what I'm getting at. So if anybody wants to sponsor me to watch more test rugby, please reach out.
Yeah. The emails at the bottom of the screen in the description. You're gonna go through producer Lee. Gentlemen, this was fun. Really looking forward to tomorrow evening. Depending on what happens, keep an eye on the Global Gainlines. There'll either be a live reaction from the Interpro show or from Bit of an Animal, depending on the result. Until Monday, enjoy the rugby. Bye.